What's up, everybody? It's Uncle Jude once again. Welcome to the Joint Nation. It's episode 6. Can you believe it? And we have a special guest. It is our first interview with one of my close acquaintances. Today we have on the Joint Nation, and Uncle Jude's Joint, my friend MUZI. Welcome, MUZI.
Oh, thank you very much. It's the honor is all mine, and the privilege as well. The channel is still young, but of course, it has featured some great minds and from pretty much from all walks of life. And it's great to see it flourish and to be a guest as well. It's amazing. I think it's going to be changing the minds of people, how they consume content and how they relate with some of the topics that haven't yet been covered fully,
right,
or haven't been covered in a different angle, because that's what it's all about,
right,
at the end of the day.
But thank you for being here, and I'm so excited to hear what you have to say to us. Did you hear MUZI's voice? MUZI is my version of Othello, right? And I want you to listen to him. He's been on national radio for a while, and he's going to share that thought with us. MUZI and I share a passion for drumming. He's also a drummer, and for those of you that didn't know, I started playing the drums at 9 years old, but that's a story for another day. So we share the passion of music. I mixed sound engineering for MUZI for a couple of years, and we shared quite a bit. And MUZI, I want you to share your train of thought. Whatever comes to mind, please share with us. We want to hear you.
I think since you spoke about music, it's one of the uniting factors within the world, and it became something that united me and you. As you say, that drums, they played a very pivotal role in our lives and shaped us in different ways. I could recall days whereby, I managed my own depression with drums. I managed my own way of finding an escapism through, drums. There wasn't a lot at that time, we didn't have fancy cell phones, but all you had is a kit. Whether the drum kit was the best, whether it wasn't Yamaha, whether it wasn't Pearl, but all you had, it was just a simple kit and a pair of sticks, and you were ready to go. So music has that interesting feel and fusion of many thoughts that will run through your mind, and hence we're still even celebrating music today. We've got many players, we've got many people who are doing great music. I'm personally, I'm in love with Robert Glasper these days.
Beautiful.
He's doing some wonderful music, and this is a person who started music from, who came from the church. For me and you, we also had our fair play in the church.
Yes.
Well,
that's where we met.
Exactly.
MUZI and I met at the same place of worship. That's how we became friends.
Exactly. And through that, music allowed us to express ourselves as individuals. It's an artistic field. I think life is all about that. Life is artistry in itself. And before this interview, we were speaking about restrictions and stuff.
Yes.
And music shouldn't be restricted. That is why we've got so many genres, but even the genres themselves, we're finding breakaways at the end of the day. We're finding, mixed with pop, for example, with soft rock, mixed with rock and roll, for example, when you can hear a bit of blues here and there. So, life is all about that, is that at the end of the day, we are diverse, but we are one.
Right.
And we shouldn't monopolize how we should be. There cannot be one nation that says this is how we ought to be. There cannot be, a certain race that says this is how you should be living and this is, the perfect way. I think at the end of the day, like you said before we started this interview, it's like we honor the Creator, because we are all from creation.
Correct.
How creation expresses itself, it's amazing. And hence you find us as being different, which represents the symbolism of music and how music is different.
Correct.
Look at just that expression through us. We're different people, but we are one people.
Yes. Tell me, what is your impression of today's music? And I'll be a bit specific. Today's hip hop. artists like Kendrick Lamar, artists like J. Cole, many artists that are speaking about depression, anxiety. What is your view on modern day hip hop music? Being a lover of hip hop music myself, and yourself appreciating the genre.
Exactly. I think you've mentioned some great artists within our time that we have. We grew up in the days whereby I think we understood that there were people who did hip hop and there was rap,
Right.
And then there were those who sort of like moved away from hip hop being silent, well, not being silently, but being known as being poetry, for example,
Right.
and expression. But we had that entire transition of, for example, of going into now addressing some of the things that we have,
Right.
Which the material things now. I've got Timberlands, I've got 5 cars, I've
Right.
got this, how
Right.
many offshore accounts, and then we've seen that sort of like defining and making hip hop to what it is, and many people appreciated that. All right, now it's more about, okay, what can girls do, what can boys do, but there are those who are obviously springing from the entire clut of hip hop and how it has been made and how it is being tried to be defined to being now the underground that we know.
Right.
As of there are people who enjoy poetry, there are people who enjoy expressing themselves in a way that is quite eloquent, and that is, I think, we come from the generation of loving that.
Yes.
Can you speak truth to me? Can you speak sense to me? That was your Nazis of the time, and there was also this stigmatization of shaming, those who bragged about their cars, who
Right.
bragged about, how much money they have. It's known as, as this streamlined hip hop. It's more like now the record producer tells you what is outside there and keep on producing that. But if I should come back and answer your question in a way and say, what do I think? I think we're touching other avenues.
Right.
I think we're finding great balances, and the balance is not narrow, but it's becoming wider now. You've got great artists in which, for example, are coming from the UK. You've got collaborations now. You've got, well, the greatest collaboration, I think, of my time, it was that of Damian Marley and Nas. Distant relatives. Who could think that reggae and hip hop could be so merged into this thing that we didn't even understand what it was? I think they're pretty much ahead of our time, and it's still one of the. It's definitely in my top 5.
I will be waiting
exactly. There. So when they interviewed Nas said, when I listened to Damian Marley, I found that it was hip hop,
Right.
but in a reggae way.
Right.
Because he spoke truth, and pretty much he convinced me to say, no, but we are doing the same thing, but
Right.
we're just in different genres.
You've mentioned poetry, right? And yes, we know hip hop is spoken word poetry, and coming down the ages, people have been trying to express themselves through music, and were often silenced. You are a poet of note that I know of. You've been on national radio on 702. You've had a relationship with DJ Eusebius Makaiser, right? Tell us about the experience.
Well, so I usually was a regular caller.
Right.
Because I love the Eusebius Makaiser show.
Right.
It speaks about pertinent issues. It speaks about politics, in which, he also addresses some of the questions that we have in society.
Okay.
And he tries to tackle those hard questions that we don't necessarily tackle. And I fell in love with that. And calling in for the first time, Eusebius said, I always loved the literature corner, by the way, reading, interviewing upcoming writers, interviewing writers in which have published, exposing those who have written some workshop notes as well, And within the literature corner, the segment sort of started to change, and it involved, let's do oral reading on live radio.
Right.
Okay. So some people started to read, and I was among the first batch of people. So I said, I grabbed the book, and I remember this. I was still in Pretoria, so I I grabbed the book. It was an anthology, filled with many poems. So I had to read this poem. So after reading that, Josephus was like, yeah, you know what? I think we should be having quite a very great relationship here.
Right.
Let's explore some space and how we can make the literature.
Obviously, you fell in love with your voice at first, and together with that deep, beautiful voice of yours, and with good literature, it just formed a beautiful combination.
Yeah.
Yes, and I remember listening to you on 702 on a Thursday morning, waiting for you to come on.
Yeah.
A voice is very important in today's day and age to be heard.
Yeah.
You come from Ramaphosa,
Yeah.
right? And for those of you that don't know Ramaphosa, it's a township next to Reiger Park, or part of Reiger Park, that a few years ago had the xenophobic attacks.
Of course, yeah.
So you come from there, and you're moving forward. Tell us briefly where you come from, who's MUZI, family. You became a father not too long ago.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're in a relationship as well.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, just take us through who you are, where you are, and where you want to be.
So I was born in Nelspruit,
Right.
Mpumalanga.
Okay.
Born to my parents are still alive, but I was raised by my mother.
Right.
She had better ambitions and better dreams, and she wanted to move to Joburg. And of course, that was great. But not besides that, of course, the marriage between my parents couldn't last, to their own issues. But yes, I spent 99.9% of my adult life, well, not my adult life, my life, so far in Gauteng. So coming back from home in Mpumalanga, Nelspruit, I owe it to my grandparents as well, from my maternal side. They took care of me. They gave me life tools, in which I'm still grateful for today. And my mother, being a single mother, she wasn't all feminine.
Right.
Some people would ask me, I'm the last born from my mother's side. Some people would ask me, so you've got everything, your mother was soft, and I was like, no ways. I know everything. I can cook, I can wash clothing, I can iron, I can clean the house, pretty much all the basics of life. So yeah, I grew up in Davidton, stayed in Davidton, I've stayed in Tembisa, and I've stayed in Ramaphosa. And that's pretty much been the highlight of my life, staying in Ramaphosa, which is a part of Reiger Park. I attended school in Reiger Park, Fudewap Primary School,
Right.
or Ostrand Secondary, secondary school.
Okay.
And then I went to varsity. My first year in varsity was in Midrand Graduate Institute at that time.
Okay.
I was transitioning from Midrand University and going to Midrand Graduate Institute. Of course, it's pretty much, a private university. My mother couldn't afford it, but I studied there for a year,
Right.
and sort of like knew how the varsity life was. Coming from a shack itself,
Right.
Using walking into Eastern Station,
Right.
to catch the train,
Right.
so that it can drop me in Johannesburg, and to catch a taxi going to Midrand,
Right.
so that I can attend university for. So for an entire year, I did that, and then of course I had a drop off, and then I enrolled with UNISA, did my degree there in communication science, so that's pretty much been the highlight of my life. Of course, where I grew up from in Ramaphosa wasn't the grandest of places, wasn't the grandest of places. So I know what is a candle, I know how to study using the candle. So pretty much like it's the typical story of many of South Africans, who've sort of like made it. But I could have been not this far, Jude. I could have been involved in gangsterism. I could have not studied further. I could have not been, a great dad that I am today. you know, a lot of things could have happened in my life. I could say I'm fortunate. The upbringing and the teaching from my mother was great, but there are some things in which you pick along, you know, along your way, and then you make them form a part of you. And one liberating thing, it's perhaps why you mentioned, you know, why, you know, had me and you see this McKaiser show, it's literature. Literature formed an important bond in my life.
Right.
And which one I'm never ever going to forget. So it's been literature, it's philosophy. Books mean a lot to me. Knowledge mean a lot to me. Now it's no longer about the books, you know. YouTube, we can use the internet. It's an open world.
Great.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Please pass my regards to your mom.
Yes.
I love her to bits. Love her to bits. And she's a strong, beautiful, hard-working woman.
Yeah.
And coming from a upbringing of having a single mom environment,
Yeah.
you still progressed.
Yeah.
And many of that is because of choices you made. Tell us, for the youth out there, people like yourself that came from Ramaphosa, from a shack, like you said, but to study under a candle,
Yeah.
that is now got a degree in
Communication
science,
Yeah.
right? And you're probably heading further into fields that we do not know,
Of course.
that are going further into communications.
Yeah.
Tell us, for the people out there that are having it hard and that have dreams and visions, what is your message for them?
So there's a saying in Zulu that goes, "Ayikho inkomo yobuthongo." It means that for everything that you want to achieve, you need to wake up and chase your dreams.
Right.
Sleeping at home is not going to help you. Procrastination is not going to help you. Jude, I could mention, you know, good words, you know, motivational words, but unfortunately they're not going to be helping.
Right.
You need to understand the space and the time that you operate in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a quick world. It's the world that is open with information.
Right.
You know, use information to empower you.
Mm-hmm.
Use information. A person is a sculpture in the making.
Right.
But a sculpture that sculptures itself. So the information that you have are the tools to chisel you into that image that
Wow.
you have.
Wow.
So there's nobody, everybody could say, do this and this and this and that. They can give you formulas. But it's important that we internalize knowledge. We make that a part of us. And we make that tools to actually sculpture us the way we want to be. So what I could say is that, for the young people, is that understand of the world we are in. Understand of the privilege that you have. And I always tell this to my friend. To know is to be privileged. Because a person who doesn't know can never ever take privileged choices like a person who doesn't know.
So privilege is to know.
Yeah.
And to know is actually meaning to know the truth.
Exactly.
And literature can teach us a lot in terms of truth.
Yeah.
And obviously choosing the right literature is important.
Yeah.
Because we've been indoctrinated for so many centuries of our lives.
Yeah, you know, it's another discussion.
Muzi, we're almost done. Quickly, I'm going to drop a few
Yeah.
questions to you and I want you to answer as accurately as you can.
Yeah.
Marijuana. What's your thought? Medication usage.
It's medication. It's there to heal us. It's given by the universe. It's a plant. Just like any other plant.
Have you partaken?
I have partaken.
So you can hear a literate individual speaking on a pretty much intellectual level that partakes of marijuana, and now it's proof that that we've been stigmatized against.
Brain.
Yes, we've been brainwashed. So smoking weed doesn't make you dumb, or it doesn't make you and turn you into an idiot or into a cabbage.
Yeah.
Muzi, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing this time with us and sharing with us your thought and your mind.
Yeah.
We wish you the best going forward, and we would like to have you back on the show, or on the channel rather.
Yeah.
It's not a show, it's a channel, and to share your mind in a few months or in a few years, to let us know where you are and where you and what you're achieving.
course, this is a great space, and I'm also looking forward to it. It's
Thank you.
shaped in an incredible way, and it's still going to continue to shape into even greater heights than way bigger than what you have imagined it.
Thank you.
So yeah,
We have to
always
do it
open.
together.
Yeah.
We only can do it together. We cannot do it by ourselves. If we want to be free, if we want to feed the hungry, if we want to grow a profitable and productive nation, we only can do it together.
Yep.
Thank you, Muzi. I appreciate it, my Triple M.
I appreciate you.
Love you lots.
Love you lots, brother.
Until the next time,
Yeah.
you never know who you might be on the show next. Uncle, do it out.